The Panther Tiger Blues. Yes, you heard it here first. That the Panthers are back in town for New South Wales. Yes, they're getting the clan back together. And potentially Api Coruscant is back for New South Wales. Cobbo linked to the Roosters. But I think more likely you will see him go to the Cowboys. Um, Fascinating stuff, but obviously the question mark, Cobbo wants to play fullback. Are there any clubs that really want him to be the fullback? That is the $1 million question. He wants to stay in Queensland. This is his preferred option. But we will see if he wants to play fullback. He might have to move interstate. Tino has a get-out clause. But is he actually going anywhere? Talk about him going to the Bears. I don't think so. Parramatta and Titans. Are they the wooden spoon specialists? Or is there another team potentially that could get that? Bears are officially back, baby. Yes, the North Sydney Bears will now be the Perth Bears. And yep, so there's a lot to get through in this episode, and there is this big news coming out of the Roosters as well. It's a big potential signing. It's not going to happen this year, but there's talks about they're trying to get him for next year, but more than likely the year after, because someone's got to replace Tedesco. We're going to get to that very shortly here on your favourite rugby league channel, Barry Charles Footy Show. Welcome back, guys and gals, to the channel. Yes, it's been what a week of rugby league news, galore, rumours, everything happening in rugby league, and it's going to continue right here now. Sources close to Daly, he is thinking about making the big old Panthers come back to town, and that's what I'm hearing. That Cleary wants his man. He wants Luai, Dylan Edwards, and then he wants Mitch Kenny or Api. That is the talk around town. And you add in Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo. It's Spencer Leniu on the bench. It's a Panthers come together with potential Tigers. Is it going to happen? Well, and they will mean Moses is out the back door, and that will be the end of either Watson or Robson as well. What do I think of this? Is this actually potential to happen? Let's get fair dinkum. First of all, Daly has to decide, is Trbojevic the captain? And I think he's really struggling with it because of the man he is. Obviously, he'll bring a lot off the field, but does he bring enough on the field to keep his spot? That's the $1 million question for Daly to decide there. And do you give the captaincy to Cleary or the Isaiah Yeo, which makes more sense if you're looking at if you want to just strengthen the team? But my question mark is Trbojevic can play more than 20 minutes. I just the people say he can only play 20 minutes instead of just total rubbish. He could play 60 minutes. He's got that ability to easily play that if he needs to. So to say that he's only a 20-minute player at Origin level is just madness. So he can play a lot more football. It's just he wasn't selected to. So it's going to be the question mark over Daly if he wants to go there. So say, for instance, you think Cleary's going to get the captaincy. This is your team now, Cleary. He's going to have a say in who he wants. So they would put Dylan Edwards and Jerome Luai locked them in with Isaiah and Liam Martin. I can tell you what, that'll lock them in. Now it's between Api and Mitch Kenny. If this is the way it happens, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but this is one scenario they're talking about right here, right now. So Api and Mitch Kenny, the talks, one of those two get it, which means Reece Robson more than likely goes to the bench because he can be a utility as well, and Connor Watson is left out. That's what I'm hearing. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's the talking point and decisions that are going to have to be made. That some of these players are going to miss out. The talk of this Moses Cleary situation, it's absolute media garbage. Absolutely not going to happen. Either Cleary or Luai, or Moses and Luai. But to me, it's going to be Cleary and Luai. Yeah, Moses, you can't have two chiefs in the castle. And Cleary and Luai just have that combination together, the 1-2 punch. It just makes absolute sense, and that is going to be the halves pairing. Don't get it twisted. That will be the halves pairing. But the hooker position, you got Api, Kenny, or Robson, and that is the question mark over Daly if he wants to stick with Robson. I mean, a winning formula, really, for New South Wales, would you want to change a winning formula? So that means Cleary is out. That's the question mark they have over that sort of selections. And obviously, when you're looking at the Jack Tupojevic scenario, say you're going to change it and not have Jake in it. Well, who you got? You got Payne Haas and Mitchell Barney. Simple. And then you'd have likes of another Spencer Lee who's on your bench. So that means you've got one more prop to pick. And you've got a whole list of players. Terrell May, Stefano, Josh King. And then people want Kawatu in the team, want Hudson Young in the team. They're not all going to fit. So they can only fit a certain amount. And so you give Jake that other position, which leaves out a Terrell May, a Stefano, a Josh King type player. That's the question mark he's going to have to decide on that. It's gonna be very interesting. But there's no doubt that Barnett, Payne Haas, and Spencer Lee are in the team. They are locks. And I think Liam Martin's a lock. And Isaiah Yeo. So it's whether or not they stick with Angus at 11 or they're going to put Hudson Young in there. And that's going to be the question mark, I think, is where they have. I think Ola Kawatu's going to miss out again. I just think hasn't played consistent enough footy. And which leaves, I think Angus or Hudson Young will get that bench spot, which leaves the 14. If there's going to be Robson or Connor Watson, if the changes are going to be made, and leaves one more spot. That's where it's going to be interesting. If Jake's going to be there, if he's going to make the squad, he might potentially. It's going to be an interesting move how they play that all out. But yes, getting back to the Roosters, yes, all the talking points all over the show here. Let's get straight to it. What do the Roosters actually need? Because there's talk about Manu, there's talk about DCE, obviously, Cobbo, Payne Haas, the list just keeps going on and on and on. But who do they actually need? They need an enforcer. They need a Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. So Payne Haas ticks the point there. I don't think it will happen. Why? Because too much money. The Roosters won't pay the 1.4 million, whatever, to sign him. I think you can write him off the list. But he would be cherry ripe on their list. They get her on the Roosters, will still look at him. But I think they want Fafita if they can get Fafita. If they can get Fafita for a couple $100,000, then Fafita will be at the Roosters. That's what they're targeting right now is Fafita. They want that alpha male dog, boom. He's not going to be the Payne Haas type, but he's definitely one that can add a bit more to the team. That's what is happening right now. It doesn't mean it'll happen because there's fractions between the Roosters on Fafita, and that's going to have to be worked out on if that's going to happen. But getting back to Ponga, Tedesco is retiring, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. And they want Ponga. They're keeping Tedesco going because they're wanting to hit their big fish, and Ponga is their big fish. They got DCE. I think they want DCE or 1 year and potentially another year after if they can get Ponga for the final year to go boom, boom. That's what they're targeting. That's what they're looking for. That's why they're letting up the floodgates. They want to pick a dog. And obviously, if they miss out, if that happens, you got Ponga and DCE, then they got to look for that alpha dog. Who can they get? Can they get a Moses Leota at the end of his career? Can they get... It all depends, because a lot of the ones at the end of the career can go for more money. But if someone wants a new challenge and go for that, that's probably the question mark that the Roosters have got is trying to find the key for like an Adam Fanua Black type player, James Fisher-Harris. That's where they're struggling. That's really where they're struggling. If they got a player like that, then look out, they are the team to beat to win the cup. But that's the danger they're looking at the moment. They're missing that key prop. There's no doubt about it. They're missing the key prop. That is the big one. A halfback, well, they could be sorted soon. Even though Sam Walker could be the number 7 clearly. But they need an experienced half in the situation which DCE will bring. And it's going to be interesting how this goes for the Roosters anyway. But getting back to Cobbo, selling Cobbo. What's going to happen with Cobbo? Well, he can clearly stay at the Broncos. I think the Cowboys are really pushing. I really do think. I mean, the Warriors, the Roosters, there's a whole lot of clubs that would love to have Cobbo. But again, it's similar to the Fafita situation. They're not sure how 100% committed he is, and that's the question mark. But if he's going to stay in Queensland, I believe Cowboys, and there's potential that he could move the fullback. Scott Drinkwater goes into the halves with Dearden. That's what I've been hearing, and that's potentially what could happen. Titans have got too many fullbacks, so would he go onto the wing at the Titans? Maybe, but I just don't see that happening. The Dolphins, they're an interesting one as well. He could easily play fullback there. He could potentially go onto the wing as well. I think he's more likely to be selected as a wing. He's struggling to find somewhere to be fullback, to be honest. Maybe the Dragons, if you think Guffo's over the hill. But again, I don't know if he wants to go into state. That's the thing. If he wants to go into state, then he will probably get a fullback role. But if he's staying in the Queensland, maybe Cowboys will allow that. Maybe the Dolphins. Titans don't see it. So that's the Cobbo situation. I suspect he is gone from the Broncos. From what I'm reading, he will be gone. They want to keep him, but it's a bit like the Raiders situation with Fogarty. They don't want to pay a certain amount towards Cobbo. Cobbo can get a bigger payday somewhere else. Cobbo will be gone, and I think that's most likely what's going to happen there. So we will definitely see how that goes. Now, let's get to the chase. Who is going to be the wooden spoon this year? Well, the obvious targets right here, right now, are the Titans and Parramatta. They're settled to the bottom of the table. Yes. But I also would add Knights and Dragons into this list. Those are the 4 teams for me. One of them will get the wooden spoon. Somebody's going to derail. So Knights could win and keep their role and get going again, which they often do. So I'm taking them out of the equation, but I don't think they're going to be a premiership threat. I think Titans can turn it around. They have the team. They have the team in isolation. Once you get Kieran Foran back, and if he stays fit, I think they'll turn it around. So I'm going to say Titans will get off the bottom of the ladder. But to me, it's between Parramatta and the Dragons. The Dragons have a big game this week. They normally beat the Warriors at home, so they're expected to win. I know the bookies don't say so, but Dragons are expected to win. The Warriors, can they pull it off and get the hoodoo off their back? It's a must-win game for the Warriors. If the Dragons lose this game, then you can start going, oh, they could be shaky grounds for wooden spoon. But Parramatta, at the moment, are raging hot favourites to get the wooden spoon. I know they got Lomax, but he's likely going to be gone to Origin. So it's going to be, Parramatta have got a long, long way to go in terms of trying to turn this all around for their future. So, obviously, and also I had to talk about Tino. Tino is going to clearly stay at the Titans, in my opinion. I think Tino will stay. I don't see him moving anywhere else. Why would you want to leave the Gold Coast? I don't see that as an option. If he was actually going to leave, if I was going to label teams that he would move to, it would be Brisbane, because Payne Haas is gone and there's money there. Boom, Tino could go there, or potentially back to the Melbourne Storm if they wanted him. But otherwise, I think he'll be staying at Gold Coast. Anyway, that's Barry Charles Footy Show for this episode. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you've had a great weekend as the Rugby League is about to kick off, and hope your team wins on the weekend. Have an awesome day out there.